It doesn't matter how old you are or what you previously have done or have not done. If you start exercising today, your body will adapt. If you change the food you're eating today, your body will adapt. If you start getting more sleep, your body will adapt. You'll get better. 2 people on this planet want you to reach your goals. You are one of them, and we are the other. Exercise is not for weight loss. We got to really get this out of people's heads, man. Life is hard. Go do it anyways. Sometimes you just have to push through. If you want a different body, you got to change its environment. When things are clear to you, anxiety drops and motivation goes up. Do you understand that it's not about the diet? It's about meeting the requirements, the nutritional requirements of your body. That's what nutrition is about. The dam is about to break, baby. It's one of those days. Getting fired up. What do we got? We got episode 33, the Why Doc. Talk about what that is in a second. Right before, we give a special shout out to who we're sponsoring today, which is Liquid Death. Back again. Love these guys. Love that sound. This kicks off my podcast where I can just talk. I can just say what's on my mind, which is mostly fitness and psychology lately, because I don't know why. Because it's time, because we got the body figured out. I don't know if you know, but it's pretty much been worked out how most of this stuff works, okay? And that's why it's not interesting to me anymore. Like, we know how to, if you're going to get old, which you are, your program should be working against that, unless you're trying to win the Super Bowl or be the biggest dude on the planet or lift the most weight. But if your goal is just to maintain the health, fitness, and function of your body for as long as possible, well, then your program is it's established based on that goal, right? So what's going to happen as you age? You're going to get weaker or stronger. You're going to get weaker, so then you should be doing strength training. Are you going to get more conditioning or less? You're going to be able to produce more energy or less energy as you age. Well, you're going to produce less. Therefore, you should be doing conditioning work, because that's what conditioning work does. Yes, it strengthens your heart and your cardiorespiratory system. But what it's doing above and beyond that is maintaining or increasing your body's ability to produce energy at different rates, right? You can't run very far if you can't, because you can't keep up with the energy demand needed to run. So you should be good at running. You got to have good form, but you should maintain your cardiorespiratory system, your energy production as you age. And lastly, you need to maintain your mobility. I don't know why I'm talking about that. Mobility is pretty obvious, right? Do you get stiffer or do you get more mobile as you age? You get stiffer, right? You can't put your arms over your head. Your back doesn't work. You can't get to the floor anymore. You're stiff. Anyways, it's not what this podcast is about at all. But man, like I said, it's one of those days, and we're sponsoring Liquid Death. I need to get a drink of this. Man, that's good. That's good. All right, the Why Doc. We'll talk about what that is in a second. This one's focusing specifically on mindset. That's today's podcast. Goal of this episode is get into the why of exercise, nutrition, and fitness. That's not the goal of this specific podcast. That's the goal of this series that I'm going to do on what's called the Why document. I'll tell you what that is in a second. Keep up the podcast train. I was struggling this week. Like, what am I going to talk about? We got all the way to episode 32, pretty much without a hitch. Wasn't saying it was easy, but I always kind of knew what I was going to cover. Whether it was a week in advance or a few days in advance, or I had 3 or 4 episodes that I already had kind of lined up, like these make sense in this order. That's how it's been for 30 weeks until this week. And this morning, I still hadn't decided. Last week I said I would do on the book, the 5 whys or the 5 appetites. I'll explain why I'm not going to be doing that when we get into the updates here. But keep up the podcast train. I pulled it off. I even debated, I could skip one. That didn't stick in my head very long, because the goal is 1 episode a week for a year, and I'm going to do it. And so I needed to get it. And anyways, we got one, and we're going to have some fun today. So just to review, goal of this episode is to is to cover the specific mindset, some mindset stuff in the wide document, but we're going to do a little series on the wide document. I'll tell you what it is in a second. We're going to keep up the podcast train and have some fun. Outline of topics. We got updates. We got before we get started. We're going to go to the doc and we'll have some final thoughts. They're going to be feisty today because it's been one of those days. You know, some weeks, some days, you're doing your thing and you're seeing progress and you're feeling good about yourself. And then some days, some weeks, it just feels like nothing's moving. So what do? You quit. That's what you do. No, you don't quit. You don't quit. You use your consciousness, you use your awareness to keep you moving forward. You just keep going. And then guess what? Then the next week ends up being good, hopefully. Hopefully you're not getting kicked in the face for too long. But because hope deferred does maketh the heart sick. Okay? So you got to get some hope. You got to get some feedback. You got to get some positive in there. So anyways, updates. Let's get into these updates. Okay, last episode, man, I went through all the supplements that I take. I don't remember what the number was, 10, 11, 12. I forgot one of the most basic ones, a multivitamin. So I wanted to get that in there. I'm not going to talk about it, but I do take a multivitamin. I take half the recommended amount in there. I eat a bunch of salads. I eat, really good beef, which is going to be loaded with micronutrients as far as the minerals go. I take creatine. I get in enough protein. I do the other things. So, for the majority of my life, I've taken a multivitamin pretty much since the get-go. When I got into nutrition back when I was 21, I started taking a multi. So we're talking, this is another 20, 25 year plus thing. I've took some of the most expensive multivitamins on the planet, and maybe they're good. Multivitamins are just one of those things you don't know. It's hard to tell if it's doing anything, and too much of anything, even water, is not going to be good for you. So I where I'm at now, I take a 2 a day. It's a higher end 2 a day. It's about $30 a month. It's by Thorne. Maybe it's 36. I don't remember exactly. And I take one of those every day. That's just kind of where I'm at with it. I feel like I'm probably good on my micros. You know what? Maybe I'll take 2 and see what happens. But I'm just wanted to get that on the list because it's definitely a foundation of my supplement program is a multivitamin. And I think it should be for most people. All right. So that was an update. Postpone the 5 appetites. I said I was going to do the book, The 5 Appetites. I'm torn on whether I want to cover it or not, because there's 3 things in there. There's one thing that's incredibly valuable, which is understanding the 5 appetites and how protein is the main driver of everybody's appetite. So basically the 5 appetites are protein, carbohydrates, fats, calcium, and sodium, and protein being the main driver. And the book gets into that and explains it, but then it also gets into some political views about protein and meat, which I just don't agree with at all. And then it also gets into the recommended amount. I just don't agree with everything in the book. So what am I going to do? Just pull out the stuff I like or just not cover the book? Because I really don't want to promote it. I mean, I suppose I could read the book and really get my thoughts cleared out and get my objections in order and then let you do that. But the challenge with that right now is I don't have the energy for that kind of thought into the podcast. Like, the podcast needs to be fun. I need to be able to put it together in an hour or 2, 3 at the most. Otherwise, I'm just too overwhelmed. And I'm totally overwhelmed this week, and it's only Tuesday. So I don't think I can go into that kind of depth right now in this podcast. The podcast needs to be fun. It needs to be educational. It needs to be built around things that are for sure, right? We know X. We know strength training is good for you, done correctly, okay? We know exercise is good for you, all right? We know you need to get in enough energy and protein to maintain a healthy metabolism. We could debate about the protein and how much, but again, I don't want to get into arguing with people. I don't. Okay, so I'm going to postpone the 5 appetites, the book. I'll give you an update on that next week. Who knows? Maybe I'll tackle it, but I'm doubting it. Golf. Who cares about golf? Golf was on. I recognize one of the faces. I'm just watching golf mid-afternoon because I want to eat something. I'm staring at the TV. Weather. I was in the sun for 3 hours on Sunday. It was a great day, and I got burnt, and I didn't think I would, but I did. Subscriber update. Email 62. That thing is never going to move. I shouldn't say that. YouTube went from 117 to 118. Again, another little notch. And some sort of miracle happened here. Spotify went from 25 to 28. I don't know how that happened. All right. But we got 3 more subscribers on the Spotify. Let's go, Spotify. All right. Apple 22. Nothing on the Apple. At least it didn't go backwards. Reminder, please submit your questions to Dennis at DennisFenrich.com. All right. Drink water. Moving right along. Before we get started, 2 things. I wrote this document 3 years ago for the gym community. I thought it would be helpful because there was always questions about whatever. Somebody would ask questions, and there's nothing going on at the gym that I've built that doesn't have a reason for it. Every rep, every set, every conditioning piece, every time you come into the gym, there's a reason for everything that you see. And so I thought it would be helpful to explain. The people in the community could have access to why. So I call it why do we do? So I called it the why document. And I covered the exercise portion and I covered the nutrition portion. The nutrition portion, I had to tackle it a little bit different. I just kind of laid out the information. We didn't really tell people how to eat. We talked about the different ways to eat. We talked about how metabolism works. Just wanted to educate people and let them decide what they wanted to do with the nutrition. If you understand how metabolism works and how food works, then you can pick any diet that works for you because you understand that it's not about the diet. It's about meeting the requirements, the nutritional requirements of your body. That's what nutrition is about. So you can, once you understand what those requirements are, you can look at a diet and go, oh, that's missing that. Oh, that's missing that. Oh, that's probably too much of that, or, whatever. So I'd rather see somebody educated, be able to make their own decisions. Okay, so I put this document together. Well, this morning, I was hem-hawing about the book. I don't know what I was going to do. I've got so much stuff on my notes and my laptop where I did all my writing, and I came across the why doc, and I said, you know what? Let me cover sections of this why doc. I'll just read it straight up as it is, because it's written in a way that's, I was speaking to my community. And so it's not exactly worded in a way if I was to write an article and put it up on the Substack. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read from the document as it is. And then I'll just make my comments and probably go off on little rants on whatnot, because it's kind of one of those little rant days. All right. So this is the section called mindset. There was like this overarching section, which I talked about the overarching principles of the programming. There was a mindset section, which I'm going to get into today, about how to think about exercise, which I've covered before, but I'm just going to cover some of this. Some of these are new and some of these will be rehashed. And then it went into the exercise and why we strength train and all those other stuff and the benefits. And then it went into the nutrition section and then it wrapped up. So today we're going to cover mindset. All right. So allow me to read. Think of these as overarching principles for your mind. They help you think accurately and clearly about your body and how it relates to fitness and health. Because, we've said this many, many times, if you don't have clarity on what you're doing, you're going to have a hard time moving forward, right? Clarity lowers anxiety and increases motivation, right? How come I can't get myself to get to the gym? Well, one, doesn't matter, just go. Because some days you're going to feel like it and some days you ain't. Just go. Because why? Because you need to take care of yourself, right? Because you want your body to work well. Because you want to feel better after what you're going to do. Because the next day you want to know that, hey, I did that thing, right? So just go. But clarity helps going easier. Helps keep the going easier, all right? So that was a little thing talking about what mindset is. All right, so here's the first one. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6. There's 6 mindset principles in the Y Doc. Number 1, we want you to win. First and foremost, know this. 2 people on this planet want you to reach your goals. You are one of them, and we are the other. Now, this is mostly true. Hopefully, you have someone else who wants you to reach your goals as well. Just know that we are 100% on your team. With that in mind, be sure to communicate with us about whatever is going on with you so we can work together more accurately towards your goals. And what a great thing to be part of, right? Because seriously, like we want you to win. I want you to win, right? And if you've been around any length of time and you've put your hand up and said, you know what, I want to do something different, then you've probably experienced somebody saying something like, call you a health freak. How come you don't eat? You don't eat what? What's wrong with you? Right? Hey, I was deadlifting 200 pounds today. Oh, you better be careful. You don't want to hurt yourself. People are people. And a good analogy to understand what's going on there is that when you put your hand up and say, I'm going to do something different than the people around me. Well, what you're indirectly doing, because this is about you, it's not about them, right? What you're indirectly doing is shining a light on the thing that they know they should be doing, but they're not. So they're going to have a very hard time. It's going to take a very solid and confident person to then be okay with themselves and go, hey, man, good for you. Go get it. Those people are not as common as they should be. Most people are going to respond. It's going to make them uncomfortable, and they're going to say something to kind of, deter you from doing what you said you're going to do. It's normal behavior. So what do? You get mad at them. Here's a good idea. Argue with them about it. No, don't do any of that. Just love them. Say, hey, man, don't even say I appreciate the input because you probably don't. But cool, man. Well, I'm going to do it anyways. Or, hey, don't even say anything. That's nice. Just love them. Just find the love in your heart. Be like Jesus and just find the love in your heart and don't get engaged. But we want you to win. I want you to win. All right. Second one. Love this one. It's the environment. That's the topic. That's what it's called. This little sucker right here. It's the environment. No matter what your current state, your body will adapt. DNA has been doing its thing for a long time, and it knows, in quotes, what to do. So if you're human, which, if you're reading this, you are, and you want to make improvements in the way your body works, looks, and feels, know that you can. Understand that your body is adapted to the environment it is in. All you have to do is begin to change the environment, and your body will begin to change with it. Guaranteed. The reason... What do I want to say about that? What I want to say about that is it doesn't matter how old you are or what you previously have done or have not done. If you start exercising today, your body will adapt. If you change the food you're eating today, your body will adapt. If you start getting more sleep, your body will adapt. You'll get better. The DNA will do what it's always been doing for, I don't even know, what, billion years? Long time. It knows what to do. So if you want to change your body, all you got to do is change your environment. It's the environment. And another point in here, little says, side note, this does not happen overnight. There are no 90-day transformations. There are 90-day improvements for sure, but no transformations. Actual changes to tissue take time. They're slowly built in by consistently exposing your body to an environment that requires it to be fitter. And this always leads me into acute or chronic exposure, right? An acute exposure to exercise will get some acute adaptations. You'll see, if you start moving, after about 2-3 weeks, you're going to start to feel like, oh man, I'm getting some good, things are feeling better. And those are acute adaptations. Physiological adaptations are going to come, actual changes to tissue structure are going to take longer. Okay. So just bear that in mind. It is a process. But if you want a different body, you got to change its environment. All right. Mindset number 3, one area at a time. We think someone should get a good handle on one area of fitness before starting to take on another. There is some gray area here, of course, but as a whole, we find this to be the best approach to improving fitness. By starting and focusing on exercise and getting it solidly in place, you begin to lay the foundation of one of the things a healthy person does: work out. Get that taken care of before you try to take on more. So if you look at your fitness, there's 3 major areas that you can start to change the environment, if you will, or start to influence, right? So your exercise, your movement, your nutrition, and then your stress response, or how you deal with stress. So you're not going to be able, unless you don't have a job and you have all the time in the world, you're not going to be able to change everything at once, okay? You've already got responsibilities. You've already got things taking your attention. You've already got things taking time. So it's a better approach to say, I'm going to work on X, and then I'm going to stick on X. I'm going to get X solidly in place, and then I'm going to take on Z. I'm X, Y. I'm already at the end here. Should have said A. But you get the idea, right? Like I'm gonna get my exercise in place, because as soon as I say, hey, I'm gonna start exercising, or hey, I'm gonna exercise more, or hey, I'm gonna focus on, I guess focusing on form would be an easy thing to do. It wouldn't take too much time. So really it's about the exercise, the nutrition, and the lifestyle stuff. But get that one thing locked in, because there's so many other things that are gonna need to change from that one decision, that you don't want to overwhelm yourself. I think that's covered in here. It is. You don't want to get overwhelmed. So I'm not going to talk about that too much, but build fitness into your life. I didn't wake up Mr. Fitness. I didn't come out of the womb Mr. Fitness, right? When I was 15 years old, I started to exercise, but I was eating fast food 2 times a day. You know, that's what was going on. Maybe that was later when I was 19, but I had a period in my life where fast food was both my meals. You know, I ate twice a day, and both of them were fast food. They went on for a while. I didn't just wake up, hey man, I'm squatting and benching and running and eating salads and beef and potatoes and hitting my macros, and I'm sleeping 8 hours and I'm taking all my supplements. It didn't happen like that. I layered in habits over time. I was patient with myself. Okay. You be patient with yourself. Stay with it. Anything worth having is going to take a little bit of work, one area at a time. Keep it simple. Here we go. Number 4, keep it simple. Simplify everything in your mind when it comes to fitness. If you get discouraged, it's because you are focused on too many things that aren't doing what you want them to do right now. This will cause you to become overwhelmed. Stop doing that and keep it simple. It's fitness, not calculus. Show up, work out, go home. Show up, work out, go home. You don't have to analyze every day whether you feel like it or not. You just don't. You don't. You know that your anxiety levels are directly correlated with how much you think about yourself. The more self-conscious you are, the more stress you're going to incur, right? You don't need to analyze every time. What do I feel like going to the gym today? How do I feel? You know, I'm kind of tired. You know, my brain wasn't working too good. The day hasn't been so hot. You know, blah 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 blah. No, you already decided a week ago that you were going to go work on this day. Just go. And if you need to make some adjustments, make adjustments. Right? If you get there and you are like, oh man, I'm dragging. My body doesn't feel too good. Make an adjustment, but you just go, because you're always going to feel better from moving. Remove the question, right? And if you do find that you're feeling overwhelmed because, hey, I'm trying to work out, and, I listened to this podcast and it was saying that I need to take creatine, 2 times a day in 3 cups of water, one before bed and the other one right when I get up. And then, oh man, and I got to get my cold plunge in, and I forgot my multi. What are you doing? What are you doing? It's not that complicated, right? Like, it's when we have too much information in our head, we get overwhelmed and then we don't take action, and then that's not good. So if that's you, then you need to let go of some stuff, back it down. Don't ever let go of the exercise. Get that built solidly in place, as I said. And then when that's not even a question, right? You're just going. You go to the gym and you work out and it's part of your life. Boom. Now, hey, you know what? This is no problem over here. Let me see if I can layer something else in here. What is it I want to work on now? But I think people try and do too much and they get overwhelmed and then they get discouraged and then they stop. And then they mope around for a while. And then they start thinking they need to get going again, and then they get going again, and it's fun for a little bit, and then now I got to do this, and so is doing that, and man, they picked up that much weight, and oh, their form is this good. Stop. What that blonde lady used to say, stop the insanity. You guys remember her? She had that spiky hair. I don't remember who that was, but she was right, man. Stop the insanity. You don't need to think about it that much. Just show up. If you get overwhelmed, back it down. I actually added this in here. Simplify everything in your mind so you can see it clearly. If you can't see something clearly, guess what? You're going to have anxiety about it, and you're going to have a hard time getting motivated towards it. When things are clear to you, anxiety drops and motivation goes up. So keep backing it down to go, oh yeah, that makes sense. I can do that. That's not a big deal. And guess what? Whoa. You'll do it. It's crazy. It's crazy. All right, 2 more, and I won't spend too much time on these because I've covered these multiple times before. But I guess they're always worth reiterating. Build the hill, okay? Build your hill. Picture your fitness as the top of a hill. The higher the hill or peak of your fitness, the longer the descent will be on the backside, and the longer you will have before you are at the bottom being old age and frailty. Essentially, if you could continue to build your fitness, build your hill, throughout your lifetime, it will be much higher for much longer, and when it does begin the inevitable decline, it will be at a much later age. This is how you expand your life and health span. So again, I've covered this before. You want to build up your strength. You want to build up your capacity to produce energy. You want to keep your mobility maintained or improve it depending on where you're at. And the higher you can get that within reason, right? If you're trying to build too much, you're increasing your risk, and you don't want to do that. It doesn't need to be. You don't need to deadlift 700 pounds. You don't even need to deadlift 500 pounds. You probably don't even need to deadlift 400 pounds. If you could deadlift 300 pounds when you're 70, you're good. You're pretty far away from death, right? You're not frail. That's for sure. So just keep that in mind. But you build that hill, and then you get this nice long decline on the backside before it's time to check out and go off to the magic place. All right, last one. Exercise is not for weight loss. We got to really get this out of people's heads, man. This is I don't know whose fault this is, but somebody back in the day when the obesity epidemic was kicking in and people were really starting to gain weight said exercise was the solution. To move more was the solution. But exercise doesn't guarantee that. It just doesn't. I've seen it hundreds of times where people were like, their weight didn't really move that much. It's not the cure all be all, right? So, but what exercise does do, I guess I should read the thing. What exercise does do is it does increase your fitness. It does increase bone density. It does increase your energy capacity. It does increase mobility. It does make you feel better. It does circulate your blood. It does hydrate your tissues. It does help clear out extra fat or glucose or whatever's in your bloodstream. It does do all those things, but it doesn't guarantee weight loss. Some people will, well, not everybody, but that's not why you do it. I'll read the thing here. It's a longer one. Using the weight on a scale to assess the effectiveness of your exercise program is wrong, misleading, and confusing. Exercise is to improve the function and capacity of your body. It's to improve your fitness. Nutrition is for managing your weight. This is a much better mindset to adopt. If you're strength training and doing conditioning work, i.e., exercising, you will improve your fitness and you jump on a scale and it does not. Wow, that's funny. So I wrote this 3 years ago. My writing is much better, by the way, which is good. So the point I'm trying to make in this is if you use the scale as your metric, then when you start an exercise program, if you don't lose weight, you will conclude that the exercise program doesn't work, right? Hey, exercise is for weight loss. I'm going to exercise to lose weight. I've been exercising for 6 weeks. I get on a scale. I'm the same weight, or I lost a pound, or I put on 3 pounds. The conclusion from that is exercise doesn't work. But the scale is the wrong metric. Exercise does work. Exercise does increase your fitness and your conditioning, all these other things. It doesn't guarantee weight loss, though. Let me finish this off. Your fitness program is working, which can only be determined by using metrics for exercise. Measure your nutrition program with metrics for nutrition. Separate the two to remove confusion. If you do lose weight from exercise, think of it as a bonus, not the goal. So if you want to measure your exercise program, measure your strength, measure times on conditioning pieces, measure how long you can maintain watts on any conditioning piece of equipment, measure how many reps you can do, measure stuff that measures fitness. Measure bone density. That would be good. That doesn't guarantee it either because, well, that'd be depending on where you were, right? If your bone density was really low, I think if you did strength training, it would go up independent of nutrition. And I say that because if you want to increase your bone density, you're going to have to increase your nutrient intake so you can add to your bones. You're going to need protein and calcium for sure to increase your bone density. So the magic here, the real magic is both. I exercised, I stimulated bone growth and density, and then I fed the nutrients into the body to get a surplus of those things so I can add to my body. Goes the same way with muscle. I'm going to stimulate muscle growth through activity, and then I'm going to eat enough nutrients and calories to then build the muscle, right? If you just exercise like mad and you don't eat enough, then you're going to break. That's what's going to happen. If your body can't make the adaptations fast enough, then you just end up wearing yourself out. All right. That is the mindset section from the Y Doc. Final thoughts. This goes with my week. It's only Tuesday. Life is hard. Go do it anyways. Bad days are lame. I'll tell you that. I don't like them. But I try and listen to what the story is that I'm saying to myself. And I go, is that accurate? That's not entirely accurate. You know, I can get stuck on the things that are going wrong. We can become or turn the filters on to find everything that's wrong. The mistakes where we're not moving forward. What we don't like. You know, I could list a bunch of stuff right now because I'm kind of in that mode, you know. I need a new dishwasher. The furnace and air conditioner thing. Got some bad news on that. You know, it looks like it might be popping off in the next year or two. What else is going on? I set new goals for myself in the gym. So now there's this disparity between where I am and now where my goals are, right? And that was just a completely psychological thing. But since now they're out there, now I feel like I'm not doing enough, you know? My left knee's been bothering me. I mean, I could just find a bunch of stuff. Or I could say, man, I got my health. It's fun doing a podcast. Some things are moving at the gym. I am building some relationships with some potential. I don't want to reveal anything right now, but building some relationships with a physical therapy place potentially we could have a good healthy relationship where we're feeding them some clients and they're feeding us some clients, right? So that's a good healthy thing. We could work together there. There's a lot of good stuff going on. So it's all what we choose to focus on. All right. Life is hard. Go do it anyways. Sometimes you just have to push through. That's the second thing. Sometimes you just have to push through. Don't overanalyze. What do I need to do today? Let me get to work. Let me go do what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to think about it too much. That's usually my approach. When I find myself kind of stuck on stuff, I'm like, forget about all that. I'm just going to go get some and not think about it anymore. Like sometimes I'll come home and it's like 8 o'clock. I'm like, man, I got to do the dishes. And I immediately ignore that and I just start doing them. I don't, who cares? Just ignore it, do it, and get to that shower. Anyways, next episode is unknown. I need to figure it out, though, because I don't like not knowing. Help us grow. Do you know someone this could help? A little mindset, a little fitness mindset. Is there any people out there that could use a little bit more fitness mindset? Bam. Send this to them. Like and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. We love you, okay? Let me hit this liquid death. As always, submit your questions to Dennis at DennisFenners.com. I hope you guys have a great week. Stay positive out there, and we'll see you real soon. All right, bye. Yo, I lied, Nathan. I do know what I'm going to cover next week. Next week's episode is going to be, I'm going to cover a section from the Y Doc, and it's going to be on digestion, food, metabolism. We're going to kind of go through that process and kind of lay out exactly how those things work, right? From a very easily understood and fundamental aspect so that you start to get a good grasp about what is nutritioning my body. What does that mean when I'm going to feed my body something? What does that process look like? That's in the Y Doc. I'm going to cover that next week, and it's going to be amazing. You guys rock. All right, bye.